Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we have a very special edition of the show. We're going to do an unboxing, which I guess is kind of a popular thing on some of these YouTube channels. Probably the only time I'm going to do this. But the reason why is because in the past year, a good friend of mine, Andy Dangelas, died. And he was just an amazing guy, talented as all get out. One of the great collectors of everything. He was in his retired years. He made the most of them. He was meticulously cataloging on the computer his vast library of books that he had collected since he was a kid. He was more into science fiction, horror, well, actually all kinds of books, but he really focused on, science fiction, horror, 19th century books, that kind of stuff, getting first editions. He was a dealer himself, and this box in front of us, it made me very happy when I got it today. His wonderful daughters, Maura and Sarah, sent it to me, and I just got it today. This is a box of some of the comics he had left, and he didn't have many comics by the time I met him. He was an avid collector in the 60s, had almost all of the key Marvel issues of the early classic Silver Age Marvels. He sold them a long time ago. Of course, he could have gotten more money today, but he needed the money at the time because he was probably going to college, or I'm not quite sure when he sold them. But he had like Spider-Man number 1 through 40, Fantastic Four, all of them. He had them all. But, as he grew older, he pretty much just started focusing on books. But he did keep a handful of comics, usually things that were related to sci-fi. I remember he had the heavy metal H.P. Lovecraft homage issue anthology. He had adaptations of science fiction stuff. And I remember, so I guess a little background. My family met the Dangelases. Well, at the time, it was just Andy and Bernice and his wife. And Bernice was the teacher of my older sister. My sister was like 5 years older than me, 6 years older than me. And I guess my mom or dad invited them over for dinner one night, and the guitars came out. Both my dad and Andy loved playing guitar and singing songs, and we became fast friends. Our families were kind of united forever. They're like closer than most of any of my cousins. And I was about 5 or 6, I think, when they met, and we constantly would go to New Hampshire to visit them. At least every Easter. We'd spend the summers together in Block Island, Rhode Island. They would come to visit us. I saw their daughters being born, Maura and Sarah, and it was nice to get to see them grow up into just amazing women. And so I don't know how this happened, but when we were in New Hampshire, somehow, I don't know if I was left alone in the house or something. When you're a kid, you're like, how did that happen? Like, why was I always doing a certain thing? But I just remember being in Andy and Bernice's bedroom. They had all these bookshelves, and there was a small shelf, of comic books that Andy had kept. And I just remember all through my childhood, into my teenage years, whenever I visited, I would just be taking these comics off the shelves, rereading them again and again, because over the years, these were comics I didn't own. I didn't even know how you could get some of these. There were like underground comics in there. And I just have such fond memories of being introduced to all these wonderful comics. Over the years, I have gotten some of those comics for myself. But I always think like, oh, if I find them, I'm like, oh, this is that comic that Andy had that I love to flip through. So that's basically, Andy was an amazing guy. So pretty soon, I was already into comics around 6, but pretty soon I really got into comics. I became a super collector, and Andy was the only adult I knew, because Andy was an adult. I was a little kid, but he like talked to me like I wasn't a dumb little kid. He would very knowledgeable about all kinds of fandom, movies, TV, comics, but mostly books. And he would send me books. He sent me the first English editions of Clive Barker's Books of Blood because he knew I liked Stephen King. Those things were super rare. Clive Barker did the cover art, and he just thought, oh, you like Stephen King? There's this guy I've been hearing about, because he was going to all the conventions. He went to a lot of conventions. He was a book dealer. And I kind of got sidetracked, but it made me so happy today that Andy's business card, the House on the Borderland Books, that was his, book dealer concern. And I remember Andy gave me one of these when I was like, I don't know, 13. It's been the same logo, really nice lettering and stuff. I'm sure you might have gotten some like guy to do it, like someone in fandom or a real artist, because he knew everyone at these conventions. He would tell me stories about playing guitar with Stephen King at these New Hampshire cons or Massachusetts, Boston cons, somewhere in New England. And he just loved his books. He loved a lot of things, though. Everything he got into really hard. Like later on in life, he just really got into cooking. And he became like amazing because he would just study and he would just amass all the knowledge he could about a subject, whatever struck his fancy. But throughout his life, it was books and a little bit comics. So I've got my razor ready. I hope I don't cut these comics open. So basically, why I have this box is a few weeks ago, Maureen Sarah said, so Greg, do you want us to send some of our dad's comics your way? And I was like, oh, that would be amazing. And just for the fact that some of these I probably haven't seen since I was a little kid, and they were so wondrous to me. That's some good packing. Oh man, this is so great. Okay. So the reason why I'm very happy about this, okay, I'm gonna try to, maybe I can do this for a second. I guess I'm gonna have to back up. Yeah, let me get them out of the box, guys, because it's too close to the camera. I'm gonna make a big stack, get rid of the box, and okay, guys, the reason why this makes me smile, because, oh my God, I remember Andy would always tell me he had this like unrealized dream that, he knew a lot of guys who put out fanzines. He was really hardcore in a fandom. And he always wanted to he'd always tell me like, you know what I really want to do? I want to write a really detailed kind of checklist history of Turok, Son of Stone. To me, Turok, Son of Stone was that crappy comic that was in my dad's dental office when I had to sit there every Saturday. It was basically daycare for me. And my dad had no Marvel DC. He had Gold Key comics. He had Archie's. And I was a dummy. And all I wanted was superheroes. So I thought these were kind of lame, But then I've grown to love these Turoks, especially the ones with Alberto Giolitti art. But Andy loved Turok, and he was always wanting to make that article, that history. And I remember I would keep him, he kind of dropped, like I said, he stopped caring about comics for the most part. But I would always keep him appraised. Like when Turok came back, I was just like, Andy, you won't believe it. Turok's like hot now. He's this hot character. Oh, man. These are old. Oh, so here's some of the Gold Keys ones. This is like the ones that would be in my dad's office. I love that was on top. He would always tell me about the honkers. That's what Turok called the dinosaurs. Turok and his little buddy. It's like, oh, the honkers. He would always kind of chuckle. It really tickled him that they called them honkers. So here's another Gold Key one. And let me get rid of this stack, so it's not too close to the camera. Oh, I used to have these. So I actually, this was DC trying to do kind kind of a more serious science fiction comic, even though it really wasn't. It was just like all of their other ones. But it almost seemed like they were like, let's market this a little more, I don't know, to be classier. It only lasted a few issues, but Mike Kaluta did all the covers, as you can see, gorgeous. He really liked Mike Kaluta. He liked all those like guys, like those great 70s guys, like from the studio. He liked Jeff Jones. He liked Mike Kaluta. He liked Bear Woods or Smith. So that's what a lot of his collection was. The few comics he kept were stuff like that. Oh, look at this greatness. Mike Kaluta again. Mike Kaluta did so many covers for DC Mystery Tales. Writes in House of Mystery. Another Kaluta. So these are later than I thought he was buying comics, because it looks like 40 cents. We're getting to the late 70s. So I guess he would pick them up every now and then. Or maybe he got them after the fact when he was at a con, you know? He just would be like, yeah, what the hell? Yeah, Andy would take me to the Million Year Picnic back in the 70s. It was like one of the few comic stores in America. Had the one in Boston. You had to walk downstairs. It was really tiny, but it was crammed. So, like, I'm a kid who just went to the local newsstand in Mahopac, New York. And, he would be like, he knew me and my brother would love it. He took us, every time we visited New Hampshire, he took us there. And me and my brother would just be like, oh, my God, ElfQuest. All these crazy things, you know. Oh, I remember this cover. Oh, man, this is beautiful stuff. All this Kaluta. He really liked Kaluta. So these are all House of Secrets, House of Mystery. More Kaluta. This looks like Wrightson, I think. Nope, it's Kaluta. Yeah, God, Kaluta. I would love to see if they just made a book of all of Kaluta's covers for DC. Oh my God, look at this. Run or you too will be trapped by Picasso fever. That's amazing. I never saw this growing up. And I would buy Secrets of Haunted House every now and then. Oh, beautiful. Madame Xanadu. Torrid and Nightmare #1. So these, Kaluta did all these covers too. So Andy has a lot of them in here. Yes. Even though I eventually bought this, he's got Cheech Wizard. So he had some undergrounds. And this one's amazing. I remember seeing these because I would never buy Wonder Woman. And this is before my time. But this is the era when Wonder Woman lost her powers and became like a martial artist. It was almost like they were trying to turn her into Diana Rigg. And a lot of Jeff Jones covers. I remember those as a kid, but I didn't remember. I didn't know how she's teaming up with Fafhrd and the Great Mouser from Fritz Lieber's, Fritz Lieber's books. We looked at Sword and Sorcery, the adaptations of Fafhrd and the Great Mouser, the 70s DC comic. There's a video for it. I think it's called Swords of Sorcery. Oh, this is the one. I remember this. Being like, I can't believe comic covers were this great before I started collecting. This is Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones just did a handful of covers for DC. I don't remember seeing these. This is weird. This is probably from his childhood that he kept for nostalgia. Because this looks like it's from early 60s, or maybe late 50s when Andy was still kind of a kid, I think. Oh, look at this. More Dell stuff. Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing these. Nice painted cover there. That's great stuff. Rio Bravo. I forgot to smell these more closer. Oh, that smell of old newsprint. Okay, I made the stack too high, so it's too close to the camera. Let me get rid of these. Oh man, this is just bringing back so many memories. Just hanging out in Andy and Bernice's room, going through these comics. Oh, he's got a doubles of this one. Yeah, I bet he kept these just because nostalgia. Because I don't think Andy was such a big fan of Westerns. I don't think that was a big thing for him. Yeah, I'm sure he had many Westerns because he collected all kinds of books. Just, he was really into just like any old books, like his first editions, you know? He had a lot of amazing stuff. Oh, look. He's got the Kaluta Shadows, of course, and I think I remember reading these in his house. He even has the issues I don't have, because I only have the Kaluta issues, interior art, but Kaluta continued to do covers. So I did a shadow video, if you want to check it out. But some of these aren't in there. Oh, these beautiful covers. He's got Tarzan. Joe Kubert version. And then look at this. This almost looks like a Tom of Finland comic. Wow, that's a strapping young man. Dark Shadows. Getting back to the Kubert era with Korax of Tarzan. Yeah, so many of the comics were like media tie-ins because they were, or science fiction tie-ins. So he did have those Sword of Sorcery comics because they were Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I remember reading those at his house. I bet this is just like a nostalgia thing, even though this came out way later, but you know, he probably grew up watching Yoka the Jungle Girl. And so we have later stuff. Image Comics. So I guess he was still picking stuff up. George R.R. Martin. The Magic Knight. I'm sorry, The Hedge Knight. Not familiar with that. Maybe it's good. Maybe I'll give it a chance. Maybe there'll be a video on it soon. Okay, so things are getting a little out of order. So now going back to Korak, the Joe Kubert era. God, these covers are great. Love Joe Kubert. Oh, and then Weird Worlds, which basically adapted all kinds of Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. John Carter, more Tarzan, Pellucidar. Oh, and he had these. I remember I collected these too. So we had a shared interest in John Carter, and I loved reading the books too. So I read a lot of science fiction when I was a kid. So, Andy would turn me on a lot of things. We could really talk about books more than comics. But I remember he loved James Vance, who I haven't read much, but he would always tell me these crazy stories. I think there was one story where James Vance wrote a story. Okay, I'm sorry, Jim Vance? James Vance is the comic writer. I hope I'm not getting this wrong, guys. Whatever, let's say Jack Vance. Maybe that's it. And he had a story with this alien culture on another planet where, I think I'm getting this right. I think it's Jack Vance. It's these people who think that eating is something you do in private and is unseemly to do, in public. But crapping is a communal thing. So people go to little booths to eat, and then they go to this communal big giant pooping stall trough, and everyone chats and stuff. Just he'd always tell me crazy stuff like that. I'd be like, whoa. I gotta read that story one of these days. So it looks like he has a lot of these John Carters. I used to own all of these. And now I kind of want to reread them again, even though I traded them many years ago. I got rid of them. Except for the Frank Miller issue. Here we go. Just like I was talking about. Here is Sword and Sorcery 1. Which, so like I said, we have a video for this. If you want to check these out. These are fun comics. Howard Chaykin, Walt Simonson does a few stories. All adapted by Denny O'Neil. And I believe that is it, guys. So, oh man, I really miss the guy. And he was just, I never met anyone like Andy. I gotta be honest, sometimes he could be a pain in the ass. He'd get a little cranky sometimes. And when I was a kid, I'd be like, Andy's mad at me. But for the most part, he was an amazing, I don't think it's too strong a word to say mentor. He turned me on to so many great things. And you guys don't know what it's like, when you're a kid, like, even not talking about comics, most parents, most adults, maybe it's different now, but most adults would rarely talk to you or if they did, it was just all very like treat you like a little kid. But Andy talked to me like a pal. And, you know, he'd just tell me about some new movie he was watching or some book he was reading. And I mean, I was a little kid. And then, you know, even as I grew older, I was pretty stupid. It's not like I was very mature for my age. I was actually kind of a weirdo. But he'd always drive me around to conventions, to stores. And man, just he was the nights of him and my dad playing guitar together and singing all these old songs that now are like my whole family. We memorize all these songs. We grew up listening to them. Every time we got together, it would be like the same songs. It was almost like a greatest hits. And yeah, oh guys, I guess there is one more thing. This showing his love of fandom. And this is NYCon Comics #5. And I'm sure Andy was at this convention. It's got a cover by Jack Gaughan, the great science fiction artist. Oh, wow. This actually is a comic. Ted White was on the committee. Ted White, the great science fiction editor. Actually, he edited Heavy Metal for a while. It's almost like, who is this, Joel Beck? Wow, this is a weird find. This is great. Yeah, I remember Andy took me to LunaCon. He took me to a couple other cons that I don't remember the names, but I remember LunaCon because Jack Gaughan was there. And you know what's sad about that con? Wally Wood was supposed to be there. And they were like, oh, at the last minute, they're like, sorry, Wally Wood's not going to show up. Oh, must be Jack Gaughan did this comic, which I don't think he ever did a comic before. That's amazing. Sorry. So, and Wally Wood couldn't show up because he was like 3 months before he died. He was already feeling poorly and he canceled because of that. Of course, we didn't know he would die, but it would have been amazing to get to see that guy. I was very close. So there you go, guys. This is, I guess, my kind of memorial. It reminded me of what I thought when I started this channel. As I got older and started thinking about, hey, I'm going to die for reals. I'm not going to live forever like you think when you're a kid. And I got so sad just thinking about all this. I mean, all of us, you guys can probably relate to this. All this stuff we collect that we love so much. We spend so much time purchasing and obtaining and collecting and organizing our collections and revisiting them over and over. And you realize you're going to die and all that's going to probably go in the recycle bin. Maybe there's some of it your heirs can sell for a nice chunk of change. Most of my stuff's not like that. And it's also like the idea that I once went on an outside buy when I worked in a bookstore, and just seeing this old hippie guy who passed away, seeing everything he collected. He was a cool hipster dude. His albums were cool, his magazines even. He had all this cool shit. And I was just like, the first time I realized, oh man, it's all going to just be probably most of it thrown away. And I won't be here to enjoy it anymore. So that's why I started the channel. I would love to just have my comic collection be inviolate in a non-profit little house somewhere that would stay a comic book library forever. And you would just, by looking at the collection, you'd be like, oh, I get a sense of this guy. And, but all I have is this YouTube channel. Hopefully I'll show off all my comics before I die. But getting this box is like, it's like a lot of things that Andy loved. It's almost like a reflection of who he was. I mean, a very small part of who he was. I didn't mention his career was where he worked for the ATF, and but he had the nice job where he just went around to breweries and distilleries, made sure that their advertising wasn't like doing false shit or whatever, that their factory was up to snuff, and so it was a chill job. He just drove around, and I think sometimes he even got free samples just between you and me. Things were different then. So yeah, it's just seeing these comics, almost every one except for those weird cowboy ones. It reminds me of things that Andy told me over the years, things he enthused about. And yeah, I guess that's it. But so hope you guys enjoyed looking at this this unboxing, this memorial unboxing, and I really miss the guy. So hope you liked it, and hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.